In this video, I want to show you exactly what an MVP is, how it can help you make money fast, and give you some examples that will inspire you to create your very own MVP. But first, what is a minimum viable product anywho? You may have heard the term floating around, but may not be totally sure what it means. A minimum viable product, MVP, is the most basic version of a new product or service. Rather than investing in a product that may end up failing, an MVP lets you validate your idea with a minimum amount of time and effort. So you start with something that's a very basic product, put it out into the world, and that is what an MVP is. Essentially, an MVP lets you validate your idea with the minimum amount of time and effort. There are some other benefits to creating an MVP, like you can get a sneak peek into how your target market interacts with your product before a full-scale launch. You can get your product out into the market much faster, which means the money comes in faster too. Okay, that's a good thing, right? You get to see how much interest there actually is in your product or service. You get to see if your product actually works as well as you think that it will, and collect glowing testimonials and reviews to use in your marketing materials. There is much less risk as you can actually start collecting money before you even deliver your product. Let's talk about some minimum viable products that you can create. Before you create your MVP, it's important to remember to start small. Your minimum viable product should be something that's quick and easy to build or create. It should be based on your best guess as to what your customers want, and remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, if you get wrapped up in perfectionism, honestly, you probably will not get your MVP out the door. So you've got to realize that perfect is the enemy of good enough, okay? In fact, you should really count on your MVP being only the first of many iterations of your final product. Plan to build your MVP, then get feedback, then improve it, then get feedback, then improve it. It's a rinse and repeat model. You might be having trouble visualizing exactly what an MVP is or how you can use one for your business. So let's dig into those examples of things that anyone can create. I have 5 of them for you, and I think at least one of them will be perfect for you and your business. When Dropbox was just starting out, this is the exact strategy they used, a video MVP. Rather than building out their entire platform, they created a super simple, short video explaining what their software could do. And this one little video resulted in hundreds of thousands of people visiting their website. This is a great strategy any business owner can use, even if you have little or no experience creating videos. And if you need a tool that's not super tacky that anyone can use, I highly recommend nvideo.io. The second idea I have for you is probably the most popular type of MVP out there. Instead of building out your product or service, set up a landing page that outlines all of the features and benefits of your product, whether it's a book, an online course, a coaching program, or even a physical product. Add a pre-order now button to start validating whether there's actually interest in your offer, and start making money fast. This is going to ensure that you have a motivated audience before you invest a ton of time into building out your offer. This is also called a pre-sale technique or a pre-sale MVP. This is another great strategy to figure out whether there's actually a market for your product. Kickstarter is probably the most popular crowdsourcing platform for small businesses, especially for those in the creative space. All you need to do is write out a general description of your product along with a picture, and remember, this could be even a pic of your non-functioning prototype, and you can start accepting orders right away. You've probably seen and maybe even participated in other Kickstarter programs before. So again, it's a way, one, to validate your idea, start funding your idea prior to even having a physical product or service in place. You know how the Wizard was actually just a guy operating machinery behind a curtain? The Wizard of Oz MVP is where you're behind the scenes carrying out a labor-intensive process that will eventually be automated. Essentially, it's a mock-up or a representation of a real service. For example, if you wanted to test out the viability of a personal shopping website, you could build a simple website and then actually do the shopping yourself. And then once you know the process works and people actually want it, then you could build the software or set up a team to carry out all of the work. The key here is that your customers won't even know that you're doing everything manually behind the scenes. Again, this is a little bit more labor intensive, but it is a model that works for a lot of businesses when they're just getting started. This is perhaps the most time-consuming type of minimum viable product and may actually lose you money at first. However, in his book, The Lean Startup, Eric Ries describes this type of MVP as being all about learning. This personalized service is not the product, but a learning activity designed to test the leap of faith assumptions in the company's growth model. So what is a Concierge MVP exactly? It's essentially a manual, personalized, and often high-end service that you offer your customers or clients to see if there's a market for what you're offering. You're involved every step of the way, helping your client while learning along the way. And once you've validated your product or service, you can then automate the process and scale. Another term for Concierge MVP is beta test, or that's kind of an interchangeable way of approaching this. Is you put a product or service out as a beta, get all the possible feedback that you can get, and then you work out all of the issues that you might have that you didn't foresee. And then you can automate the process and ultimately scale the sales of the product or service that you put together. Once you have your product finalized, you're going to need to register a domain name. Now, most people go for a .com and they miss out on the opportunity that .online presents. Domain names on .com are, sometimes not available. You'll most likely have to compromise by adding a hyphen or changing the spelling or changing the name that you thought you wanted altogether. So not only are the chances of getting your desired domain name on a .online super high, but it'll also give you a domain name that's meaningful. So you're telling the world that you're online. So it gives a very interesting connotation. Immediately designates your business as an online business. It's brandable in a global perspective. The word online is understood in over 25 languages. So it's highly recognizable. I would say it's just as recognizable today as the .com. So when you go to register a domain name, I highly recommend going for the .online.